found online is something really neat. It's called an interactive tour. And it's actually a tour of where her and her friend, like her parents, and they all stayed. Let me pull it up here.
Is this like the actual house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the actual room. And over here in the top corner, I know it's hard to see. Let me turn off the lights here. In this top corner, you can kind of see the breakdown of the house right here. The warehouse is in the front, and it's got 4 stories. Right now, we're in the Van Pels family room, which is technically upstairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you got there. They had this really steep staircase, because you have to remember this is all hidden behind a doorway. And here is how they got into their secret hideaway. Now, their secret hideaway was hidden in one of the upstairs offices, okay? For the business, for the warehouse. It was Frank's, like, spices. He did spice trade and everything, like, and that. So what he did is he had these offices upstairs, and that's where everything was at. So you had this movable bookcase.
This is the area between the main house and the secret annex, and it is used for the archives. Nobody would ever suspect that the bookcase is actually a door leading to the hiding place. The windows are tinted, so the secret annex can't be seen.
So, let's go. And if you like scroll around and move around in here, you can look and see where you're going. You can go into the secret annex right here. There's the bookcase. And there would be the door leading you in. Now watch your head, of course, you don't want to hit it. And then when you walk right in, you're immediately greeted by this steep set of staircases and this door, and also a room to the bathroom off to the side. Where would you guys like to go first? You want to see the bathroom? Or what passes as their bathroom? Or as they would call it, their water closet? That's it.
You can't really call it a bathroom. There's a toilet and a wash basin with only cold water. That's all. Everyone in the secret annex is allocated a daily time slot to come and wash here. Every evening from 9 to 9:30, this is where Anne performs her extensive beauty routine. The toilet can't be flushed very often during the day because those in the warehouse might hear it.
So, like, there's no shower at all?
No. No, there's no shower at all. There is going to be this huge metal basin that they'd have to take, and they would have to take it in either the office, because there's not much privacy here. They would have to take it in one of the main offices and fill it up with water in the kitchen that they had on yet another floor, because they didn't have a kitchen in their hideaway. They'd have to fill it up with water, drag it into the office, close the office doors, and then take a shower. Or actually washcloth, dab it in the water, try to bathe. That's what it was, the process of. And remember, they're stuck in these 2 rooms. The offices are not inside their annex, so baths, they're only taken on Sundays. So once a week, you can have a bath. Can you imagine that? You think it might get a little smelly at times? Yeah, it probably would. So now where would you like to go? Would you like to see Anne's room, or would you like to see the family room? The Frank family room? The family room? Okay, so we're going to go, click on this, and we're going to go in the Frank family room.
Shouldn't the people that own the warehouse know where everything should be?
Well, that's just it. This was Frank's warehouse. The Franks did own this. Because up until this time, this was actually Frank's business. Otto Frank had this business. So when he got called out, he transferred the company into somebody else's name who wasn't Jewish, but he still kept all the same workers and employees.
So he knew everyone?
Yeah, so he knew everybody, but, the workers oh, well, he just left, it's transferred over to this person now.
Were they not sneaky enough or something? Is that why they got caught?
No, like a robber concept.
somebody tipped off the Gestapo forces. They weren't actually discovered by the police. The police had come in and checked out everything. They didn't find them on a couple of attempts. But somebody tipped them off that, hey, there's a family hiding out here. We bet if you look in this area, you'll find them. And they went off of that tip, and then they found them. It wasn't that they didn't hide well enough. They did. But somebody that found out about them wasn't trustworthy enough, okay? So this is the Anne Frank family room.
This is the Frank family's living room and bedroom. The furniture has been smuggled over from their old house. Edith has immersed herself in her English language course, Otto reads his Dickens, and Margot is usually studying. At night, when Anne is frightened by the anti-aircraft guns, she comes in here to be comforted by her father.
So her mom, her dad, and her older sister all sleep in this room together. And I mean, you can see it's got one bed. Her sisters, her and her sister do a lot of schoolwork. They keep track of their heights on the wall. They keep track of the invasion, like what's going on, because they want to know what's going on. They have a radio that they can listen to.
You have to be like super quiet.
They did. But I mean, in the evenings when the warehouse was closed at night, they could turn on the radio broadcast because they did have one upstairs in the annex. It was just a little small one. So they could actually turn it on and listen to what was going on. Where would you guys like to go now? You want to see where Anne slept? Now, you have to remember, Anne Frank didn't have a private room. She shared this with another person that came in, who is Dr. Fritz, and he shared the room with her.
Anne brightens up her room by sticking up pictures of anything that takes her interest, from movie stars to dancers, royalty, and works of art. At first, she doesn't mind sharing her room with Fritz Pfeffer, but she grows to find him increasingly irritating. He makes little noises at night, like a fish gasping for air.
Just like any 13-year-old, right? We find some strange things wrong with somebody. Old people are kind of, right? So, Fritz becomes the 8th person living in this secret annex. He also is a dentist and tries to do some of her homework in there on her bench. And you have to look. Here's the bed again. It's very small. Obviously, her most treasured possession would be her diary, which she writes in a lot. And she likes to have movie stars up on the wall. Now, I bet when you guys were little, maybe even some of you do today, how many have posters of, like, maybe Justin Bieber or who else?
I used to.
You used to? I mean, when I was young, I
have a
had
poster
Disney
of Justin
princesses on
Bieber.
my wall. You know, but... So this is her way of expressing herself. Just like me and you did when we were younger. We expressed ourselves with, like, family photos, with pictures of royalty, with actors and actresses and singers. Any place else you'd like to go? You want to go back upstairs to the other family room? Other family's house? This is all the options that you can go to. These 3 floors, like up here is the attic. That's where they kept all of their dry goods. Here is the Van Pels family room. Peter Van Pels had that room. And then you've already seen all of the Frank family rooms.
Isn't it weird how they had all that?
How did no one realize
I
that there
know.
was just like this entire building not being used for anything?
Right.
I know, it's kind of odd, isn't it? I don't know. Let's see what this room's like. Because, I mean, I'll show you the outside. This is the Van Pels family room, and it's obviously a little bit bigger. But if you go off to the side over here, Peter, their son, has this little hideaway behind this little teeny narrow cupboard door. And this is where, I know,
I
right?
thought it was the door right there.
No, fooled you. No, he has this like little cupboard area that has the stairs to the attic right in the middle of it.
That would lit. I'm really claustrophobic.
You're really claustrophobic? Yeah.
Plus walking, like somebody's walking over you up the stairs.
Yeah, right. So to get to any of the food that they would have, you had to go upstairs to the attic.
I'd make up a password.
Make up a password.
So then there's people going up and down that like all day then, isn't there?
Well, not all day. Only at specific times, like at dinner time maybe. Yeah. But I mean, you have to remember, there is no such thing as privacy here.
So it's like someone like brings them food, or do they just have like a?
Yeah, they had people bring them food. What they had at that time was they had ration cards, and the Frank family would not have them, but other people would, and they just bring them extra supplies as they could. So they'd create stockpiles because they'd make sure to ration off their food and eat bare minimum of what they could eat to get by. So what they'd do is they'd stockpile the leftovers. And the leftovers were usually like dried beans, dried goods, stuff that couldn't really go too bad, like go bad quickly. Wasn't anything real fresh.
The attic is used to store food. Anne occasionally comes up here to write and to enjoy the view of the sky and the chestnut tree. There's an unpleasant surprise up here one day, thanks to some rats.
Yeah. Now, this is really the only window that doesn't get covered up all of the time because it's in the attic. Nobody's up there in the attic. Nobody has lights on in the attic. So this is where Anne actually gets to see outside. So can you imagine having that as your only view to the outside world?
Wouldn't they think it was weird if all the windows were always covered? Like, wouldn't you suspect?
Apparently not, because they thought it was like the warehouse, of the spice company.
I don't get why you would cover the window.
But they never.
Well,
been to
actually,
the
some
warehouse.
spices actually go bad if they're in direct sunlight. So, I mean, that could be a legitimate reason why they have the windows covered. So they probably thought about it and thought their way through it a little bit before.
Did Otto Frank, did he build this warehouse?
Mm-mm. It's actually located within Amsterdam. And here it is. There it is from the outside street. Is the picture of the building in Amsterdam.
Okay, yeah,
See?
they should know that there's an upstairs.
Yeah, they should. I mean, it looks like there's an upstairs. But see, what people go in, what they see is this. Like, if they go in these doors, they're immediately greeted to a hallway to the second floor. Well, sometimes people don't think about the layout of a house all that much. So when they went inside, they'd go upstairs, and these would be the offices. You'd have an office here. And that'd
This is
be...
the hallway on the second floor. It leads to 2 storage areas and to the stairway up to the front attic. While a secret annex is being used as a hiding place, the door to the archive area with the bookcase is kept locked for security reasons. There are also stairs leading down.
leading down.
There's 2 attics?
Yeah, see, that's the kind of the cool thing about it. That's kind of how they got to get around the hiding part, was that there is another attic.
What is annex?
It was just a voided space. Basically because it was a space that nobody could really determine what it was used for. That's what it meant. It was just a voided, empty space. Let's see. So, I mean, this will let you go up to the other attic. So, I mean, if you're a policeman or a Gestapo force and you're being, toured through all of this, my mind's thinking that you're not really going to realize, hey, there's some part that I haven't looked at here. Why isn't it adding up in my head, You're like, oh, I'm going upstairs to the attic. Oh, okay, that's good. And see? And it looks like you're at the back of the building because you have your windows in the back. So, it looks legitimate.
The front attic is an important vantage point. It's a good place for watching any aircraft. That's why Peter in particular likes to sit here. It's also a nice place for him and Anne to spend some time together alone.
They did, when the warehouse was closed. When the warehouse was closed, during the nights, as long as they kept off the lights and didn't have a lot of light shining through the windows that weren't covered, they pretty much had the freedom to explore the warehouse. Okay? So they would use that to their full advantage at sometimes. But it wasn't very often that they could. obviously they said that Peter liked to use this room a lot because at this time you also had air raid sirens going off. In her diary, she even mentions one day where there's 3 different air sirens going off, and you're listening to the bombing of the city. You're listening to constant machine gun fire, and you're not knowing if it's going to hit you or not. The house is shaking because of the bombs. They can smell the fire. They can see smoke out the windows sometimes. And that really scares her. She goes running into Dad to sleep at night, which I don't know about you, but I would too. I would be like really deathly afraid of this because you can't see the planes coming. All you're hearing are the bombs. And in your head, you're thinking, where's that next one going to land? Because there's no way for you to know. What do you guys think? Do you think that'd be a little scary?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Would you guys go running in to see your parents at that point? Yeah.
I'm scared enough like a tornado siren goes off like 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, see, we're scared of tornado sirens today. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So see, this is what the Gestapo forces would be shown. Would be all this front part. They'd also be shown, like here would be your staircase, right? Where the movable bookcase was. So they'd be in the offices here. So they wouldn't really think about, some of this isn't really adding up. They would just realize that, oh, hey, look, here's an office, this is where we're at.
What was the first floor in their secret annex, like that very bottom?
Oh, this?
No, the one below.
This?
The one more down.
Oh, this one?
Oh,
This was the office kitchen. Because this company also made this stuff to make jams and jellies. So this was the kitchen that they had to use when the warehouse was closed.
Couldn't you like go down there and like take some food?
The office kitchen is the only place in the house with hot water. On Sundays, this is where the people in the secret annex come to fill their tubs for a bath. On
What do you see on the
weekdays,
floor?
products are tested here. When the company is lucky enough to get hold of strawberries, this is where the helpers and those in hiding make jam together.
These big tubs, like you see this one on the floor with the handles on both sides, that would be something that they'd have to use for their washing.
Did they like flip around their sleeping schedule so they slept during the day?
They did not flip it around because they wanted to sleep at night too. But yeah, they did have strict resting periods where they would have to rest during the day. Now, they could move around a little bit in their secret annex. But for most of the time, they were confined to their one small space. So you'd be in that little family room that you saw. You have 3 people stuffed in there, mom, dad, and sister. And you could read, sew, do schoolwork, read. You were pretty much really good at what you could do. Or you could take a nap. But I mean, I bet you probably got pretty tired of naps all the time. So there really wasn't a whole lot for you to do besides just let me study some of my Latin or mathematics or mechanics or medicine. Each of these girls had a very wide array of studies. They would study French. They would study Latin. Because they didn't have school, but they had a lot of free time. They had a lot of quiet time. So this is what they would do. They would study new things.
How did they get like schoolwork and books?
That's a good question. Some of the people that were actually in charge of helping them out would actually help them and get the school stuff, and they'd get everything smuggled in for them.
What happened to the people that helped them?
After Hitler's rise to power in Germany
Here,
in
it's a really cool
1933,
video about
the
it.
Frank family, who are Jewish,
Think it answers your
moved to
question,
the
too.
Netherlands. They find a place to live on the Merwedeplein in Amsterdam. Life seems good and safe. Quite a few other German immigrants live in this area. Anne and Margot make friends with other young girls and play with them on the streets and at home. They're also happy at their school. Otto Frank's businesses are doing increasingly well. He has his Opekta business, and he also sets up Pektikon, a spice company, with Herman Van Hels, another Jewish immigrant. The Frank family feels safe. changes in May 1940, when German forces invade the Netherlands. Jews start to face endless restrictions.